Well, this is the new McLaren Elva, and it's the first time it's been shown in the Southern Hemisphere. We're incredibly excited to have it here at the third edition of the AXA Sydney Harbour Concours d'Elegance. It's a really interesting car because although it's ultra modern and ultra modern materials and build, you know, it's all the latest high-tech stuff, it's actually got this retro feel back to the original Bruce McLaren racing cars of the 1960s. And of course McLaren is now an English company, but Bruce McLaren was a famous Kiwi racing driver and would have risked his life and limb every day going out in a 60s version of this. But this is super safe as well as being super fast. And one of the things you might notice about it is go, well, this is a bit daft, it hasn't got a windscreen, you know. Yeah. So I'm going to get flies in my teeth and my hair's going to get blown away. But that doesn't happen because the way it's been designed, you've got a virtual canopy. So the airflow comes up and over, so you're not sort of blown about. It's pretty amazing technology. And the livery is in Gulf livery, and I'm sure people remember, know of Gulf oil, and the livery again goes back to the early association of McLaren and Gulf. So they're building 149 of these. Right. So it's a very, very rare car indeed. Right. Isn't it spectacular? The colour, I mean, it's one of those archetypal racing colours. So it's really good. But even though it's in racing colours, it's a road-going car.
Right.
But it's only 149, limited edition.
The Jag's a bit of a feature this year.
Well, they are, because it's March 2021, and it was in March 1961 that the E-Type Jaguar was launched in Geneva. Right. So it's a really important anniversary. It's the 60th birthday of the E-Type. And what we have here is a whole row of all of the different E-Types that have been produced over the years. But possibly, I suppose, two of the most important ones. Well, the original one was the fixed head coupe, which is this. So this is a 1962 version, and it's an absolutely remarkable car. Everything has been completely restored in this car. So it's probably better now than when it left the factory in 1961, but a very, or 62, this one, very early car. This car, which is known as an OTS, an open two-seater, the convertible version, this is a 1961 car, and I particularly like this one because, foolish boy that I am, car expert, I own that car and I sold it, and it's now worth at least 4 times as much money as when I sold it. But I couldn't afford it then, and I certainly can't afford it now. But so here you have the two quintessential E-Types, from this one from 1961 and this one from 1962.
What was it about the E-Type when it was launched?
You know, coming out of that post-war austerity period in the UK, and this was one of the, along with the Mini, the quintessential swinging 60s, all of a sudden it was, man landed on the moon, the Beatles, all of that was happening, and cars took this huge leap forward. In the 50s, cars, because of the war, tended a little bit to look back and use pre-war technology. But in 1961, all of a sudden, we're Carnaby Street, we're swinging London, it's groovy, baby. Look at the shape of them, they're just so good. Enzo Ferrari, the founder of Ferrari, said, "This is the most beautiful car in the world." And 60 years on, in this form, it's I still, I wish I'd never sold that one.
Right. It's not just the colour that makes this car stand out.
No, I mean, but would you believe, in 1936, this is the colour that this Delage came in. So it's not been hot rodded or jazzed up. It's an absolutely incredible motor car. The body is by Figone e Falaschi. And Figone e Falaschi, one of the great Art Deco bodybuilders of all time, one of the great names of coach building. And what's really exciting about this car, it's not the original body, it's been rebodied, and now it's back in its original configuration. This is what it would have looked like in 1936. And the wealthy owner of that period commissioned Figone e Falaschi to build a car that could win a concours and could win its class at Le Mans. In 1936, and I don't know why, I can't remember the history, Le Mans didn't happen, or this car couldn't go in the Le Mans 24-hour race. But it won a concours in 1936, and in 1937, it painted blue, it won its class at Le Mans. Obviously, over a period of time, things happened to it, it got changed, but this is exactly how it was in 1936, and it's absolutely amazing. And believe it or not, we're sitting here in the middle of Sydney. This car was driven by its owners all the way from Melbourne, especially for the show. So this, for me, is the epitome of beauty, but also the epitome of performance. You know, the car's 80 years old. Incredible. They've driven it however many k's it is from Melbourne to us. This is the only one in the world. Though it wasn't the days of mass production where they took. This was somebody drew a picture and said, that's what I want, and it's got to be stylish enough to win the Concours, and it's got to be fast enough to and strong enough to compete at Le Mans. This is a one-off. You know, wonderful, wonderful motor car. So this car's got some incredible features. Amazingly, it's one of the first vehicles ever fitted with an electronic gearbox. And you can see just by the steering wheel there, that little lever, it's possible to change. If you get the revs right, it's possible to change this car without using the clutch. It does have a clutch. One of the things it's got, and I can't show you because I know it's locked and the owner's not here, but you can see the original tool bag in the rear. But to compete in Le Mans, you had to, I think, take a mechanic with you in those days.
Yep.
So one of the rules was it also had to be a four-seater. So this bit opens up, and there's a little seat there, and your mechanic can sit there with his tools on his lap, jump out and fix it whenever it breaks down. Stunning car. I mean, just, you know, look at all of this here, the skirts here on the spats on the wheels, you know, just beautiful, beautiful. And the colour. The reason this car is so important, that's the BT9, 1964. This is the BT19 from 1966.
Right.
Essentially, you know, improved. But this is the car that Sir Jack won his third World Championship. But more importantly, Sir Jack Brabham is one that was then at the time, won it in a Repco Brabham.
Right.
It's the first and only time so far that a racing driver has ever won the World Championship, the Formula One World Championship, in a car of his own manufacturer. So an incredible story. And I think sometimes everybody knows Jack Brabham's name in Australia, of course.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes people don't appreciate exactly what he did in this period of motor racing.
Yeah.
So not only was it the first time, his third World Championship, the first time that he won, anybody had won in their own car, but this was also the first time that the manufacturers, the F1 Manufacturers Championship was run. It was called something different then, and this car won that as well. So an incredibly, incredibly important motor car, and we're really thankful for Brabham Repco to bring this along. And I know you're going to say, well, what's this one worth? If we said 24 million,
wow, yeah,
I think you'd be not far off the mark. This is a Maserati 3500 GT Spider by Vignale, and it looks incredibly like a Ferrari California 250 Spider, but it's a Maserati, and the difference is you can buy a Ferrari California Spider for 20 million, something like that, maybe 20 million US. You can buy this car actually on Saturday, and with the estimate we're going to auction this car for 800,000 to 1 million. This is one of the great cars of all time. You know, it is serious La Dolce Vita Italian, and it's got one of the great V8 engines of all time, the same engine that Juan Manuel Fangio, the world champion of the 1950s, had in his racing car, and then it was developed from the racing into the car. It's just a marvellous, marvellous motor car. I mean, and just look at the shape. This beautiful piece here in the hip, the line. It's a gorgeous car. I love it. I really, really like cars with stories. And so to have the Sydney City Council electrical van, this is the only one, is exactly as it should be. It's a real one, it's not a mock-up. It's got the real ladder on top. It's got, if you open up the back, it's got all the bits and pieces. It's ready to work, you know, it's great. And again, that somebody has taken the trouble to find that vehicle, to restore it, to put it back to what it was when it was original. And to find all those bits and pieces that accompany it. It's wonderful. I love it.